If you walked into a flipped classroom, you're going to see kids actively involved in their learning. If it's science, they might be doing experiments. It's a foods class, they're going to be making foods, having conversations with each other. They're getting more help from their teacher. The teacher's going to be walking around and helping their students. You've seen these things before, but if you will, the magic of the flipped classroom is there's going to be more time for those things. My work in flipped learning started in 2006, 2007, when Erin Sams and I were having a conversation with our assistant director of curriculum instruction. She came down and she said, "I love it that you guys are recording your lessons for your kids." And she says, "My daughter has a professor recording her lessons, and she loves it." And then she said these words. These are the words that sort of changed everything for us. She said, "My daughter loves it because she doesn't have to go to class anymore." We then said, what if instead of our students getting the content in class, what if they got it outside of class and then they did their classwork at home? And that's how we started flipping our classes. What most people think when they think of flipped, we are calling in our books Flipped Class 101, where all the students watch the same video on Tuesday night, and on Wednesday do the same activity. I really want to challenge teachers to not just do Flipped Class 101. If you're just doing videos and worksheets, then you're missing the point. Give them projects, design inquiry experiences. Those are the things where the magic will really, really happen. What is the best use of your face-to-face class time? I would argue it's not you standing up in front of your students and yakking at them. It's something else. Now, what does that look like? Well, it looks very different in a English class than in a math class. Teachers are just so stuck in the front of the room, whether chalkboard, whiteboard, PowerPoint, whatever it is. When you move the direct instruction, many people think of that as the lecture, to the individual space. And then it transforms the classroom into an active place where students are applying and analyzing and creating. And it does seem cheesy. You're gonna make this little video on how to add fractions or on the Revolutionary War, but the flipped classroom is not about the videos. It's about the active, engaged things you can now do in class because of the videos. The biggest question I'm ever asked by teachers is, oh, my kids won't watch the video. So one often used strategy is if the kids don't watch the video, then you have them watch them in the class. Hold kids accountable for their actions. While the other kids are getting help and working in these problem-solving groups or whatever it might be, they're gonna still have to get the content. So our kids said, wait a second, so Mr. Bergman, if I don't watch the video, I have to watch it in class. Yeah, you do. And all my friends are gonna get help on all their assignments, and I have to take it home. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it would actually be easier if I actually did the lesson at home. Yeah, that would be good. And most of our kids quickly learn. So one thing that I find teachers do wrong when they first flip their class is they use video resources found on the internet. Not to say that those other resources aren't good. I'm sure they are. I don't want kids to watch a video. I want kids to interact with learning content. The efficacy of a flipped classroom is greatly enhanced if the teacher is the creator of the content. And if you can build in interaction into these, it greatly enhances the learning experience for the students. I like to say it puts like a layer on top of it. And so what happens is you can take your video, and as it's playing, you as the teacher, this is before they're gonna watch it, you can say at 1 minute, pause the video, and a question will pop up, and the students then respond to the question. And it's tracking them. It knows who they are, and then how much of the video they watched. When they know you're kind of looking over their shoulder, so to speak, and knowing what they're doing, they'll actually do it. Once you've created a video, you've got to make it accessible to your kids, and there's lots of ways to do that. Another myth in the flipped classroom is this whole issue of access. The studies say now 95% of kids in the United States have access to the internet at home. You don't make a decision based on 5% of your kids. You have an intervention for those kids. There's ways to get around that. A lot of teachers are uploading, frankly, to YouTube. So if YouTube is not blocked, and I know that's not always the case, but if YouTube is not blocked, I'm a fan of YouTube because every device any kid's gonna have access to will play a YouTube video. The reality is flipped class is a gateway to those deeper learning strategies that we've been talking about teachers using for a long, long time, and let's be honest, they're not using them. The entry point for a flipped classroom is not to flip a class, but to flip a lesson. As your very first lesson, I would recommend you answer this question. What is something that you find yourself repeating over and over and over again? Over and over and over again. Flip that lesson. In the 2007-2008 school year, Aaron Sams and I had made a commitment to completely pre-record all of our lectures. That first year, we made 100 videos in one class and 67 in another class. We began to see our students taking more ownership for their learning. We saw kids were actually, their performance on our tests that we had given for years increased significantly, actually 1 standard deviation. And then we saw kids interested and engaged. This just makes sense. You know, there was a quote from one young man, he said, "Finally, somebody who teaches the way I learn."